Vajra Prajna, Pineapple Rice, Shakes Tripitaka, Master, Kumara, History and Art, 5 Shorts and 5 Faces, number 27, Golden Gate, Virtual Bodhi. If you do this, 20 Tathagata, they care for each other. De Anodara, 3 seconds of 3 Bodhi, Virtual Bodhi. Don't be a world-thinking Tathagata. Do not care for each other for De Anodara, 3 seconds of 3 Bodhi. If you commit evil in the world, do not swear evil. Why do you do it? Anodoro's 3-second, 3 Bodhicitta grammar does not speak, but is explained in vernacular.
What is said is that people are separated from all thoughts, rather than facing people. Not only is there no attachment in their hearts, but all images don't have a cross-sectional direction. Similarly, the so-called inability means that there is not only no attachment in their hearts, but there is no broken phase of the Dharma. Therefore, the Buddha told Shubhu to say that if you think so, it is because you have forged the perfect 32-colored body fragrance in your heart, that you can achieve the Supreme Bodhi. Because the Bodhisattva, who has achieved the Supreme Realization, and other enlightened minds, must consciously awaken and completely exhaust all dharmas to enable all sentient beings to realize themselves.
What do we say about the idea that all laws must be broken? Scripture 28. If the Bodhisattva uses the 7 treasures of the world, such as manheng and sand, and does not give, if the rich people know that all dharmas are selfless, the Bodhisattva gets the merits and virtues before the sage of Ninsi Bodhisattva. Why is the Bodhisattva empty? Bodhisattva does not receive merits, so Shubodhi said to the Buddha that if someone walks the path of Bodhisattva, he is obsessed with merit in his heart. Although he has accumulated so many Ganges sharks and the world's chicken treasures, it seems that there are many merits on the surface, but in fact there is a limit. Besides, if someone practices the Bodhisattva path, he will also not lose Hong, but he is not obsessed with merit in his heart, let alone my mind. For all desires and attachments, he doesn't need to endure it, and his heart is naturally pure and untainted, reaching all the freedom that no one can forget. The merits gained by those who cling to the 7 guarantees without losing the Bodhisattva path they practice are even more extraordinary. Why? Because a true Bodhisattva's heart is not bound by merit. Virtual Bodhi then said, why a Bodhisattva's heart is not bound by merit? Tell the Buddha Shubodhi that the Bodhisattva does not give great benefits to all sentient beings. All sentient beings are acts of self-confidence flowing naturally, so there will be no phenomenon of blessing and virtue. That's why it's said that Bodhisattvas will not be bound by merit. Wei Yi Silence, Part 29, Scripture Subhuti. If someone says that the Tathagata comes and goes, if he does and lies down, he doesn't understand what I mean. Why does the Tathagata have nothing to do? There is nowhere to go, so the name Tathagata is the vernacular explanation. The Buddha told Shubodhi that if someone is called Tathagata, or wants to do it because of the Tathagata, I am a Tathagata, or want to do it. Living, sitting and lying in the 4 kinds of prestige and barbarians, to realize the Dharmakaya without appearance, Tathagata said that this person's heart is still attached to the image. One might not understand what I'm talking about. Why? Because what Tathagata really refers to is our Buddha nature, noumenon, not the external image. When the hearts of sentient beings are covered by dirt, it is not that Buddha nature leaves. When Buddha nature is enlightened, it appears. Coming from other places, Buddha nature noumenon is filled with the Dharma realm. Since it is not moving and the most comprehensive, it's called Tathagata Yihei. Li Xiangxian, number 30. Golden Gate. Virtual Bodhi is like a good man and woman, smallest in 3,000 great worlds, sinking in the cloud river. Even the slight heaviness is not empty, and there are many words of Bodhi. Why is the world honored? If a small minister values oil, the Buddha does not say that it is a small minister, and the Buddha say that the dust is heavy, that is, it is not a dust heavy, but it is called a dust heavy. As the world-honored Tathagata said, 3,000 great worlds are not the world, but it is called a world. Why is it that if there are oil in the world, it is not the same? Shubodhi replied, the world-honored said a lot. Why? If many minor facts are in eternal entities, Buddha won't say that there are too many dust particles. What is the reason? because these heavy dust particles you mentioned are born with marriage, and they have no autonomy in dying and changing. They are just a name for the methyl group. They are the same as the dust particles that you call the 3,000 great thousand worlds. They are also a short-lived phenomenon of the combination of causes and conditions. It does not really exist permanently, so the methyl group is called the world by a name. Why? If this world exists from time to time, it is just a combination of many things. We reluctantly call it a uniform image, and the uniform image you mentioned, Buddha, is actually just the name of class A, because everything is combined. There is dispersion, and nothing is really unchanged, so Yihei Xiao is just a name of class A. Buddha, Ji Shu, said, Shu Bodhi. The world is a combination of many things, but these combinations are constantly changing, and there is no certain. It is our combination that sometimes scatters. Even Buddha and I can't explain it, but secular people like to talk about him, not knowing he is a short-lived phenomenon in the process of change. What's the use of talking about it? This is why sentient beings are greedy for things in front of them, losing their true nature. Knowing and seeing are not divided. 31st Sutra Gate. Shu Bodhi Luo said Buddha does, I see people and all sentient beings. I am humble when seeing people and all sentient beings. It's not also respecting others, and not understanding Tathagata meaning, why respect me when seeing others?
Wrinkled sword and flying sword, man arrow, sentient beings, sword, beast, sword, clear me sword, man sword, sentient beings sword, empty body, anodoro. 3 seconds, 3 bodhicitta, should be like the world in all dharmas. Such belief and understanding do not give birth to Dharma phase. Tathagata said the Dharma phase is the name of Dharma phase. Vernacular explanation of empty bodhi.
What about the persistent existence of the sword of all living beings? Shu Bodhi, do you think this person really understands what I am talking about? Ku Bodhi replied, the person who the world honored said he didn't understand what you said. Why? Because you mentioned that, I see people's longevity in the world is cheap, just to make it easier for ordinary people to understand the Buddha's body and mind. In fact, the Buddha's heart has already transcended my attachment to seeing people's longevity in the world, and I see people's longevity in the world. It's just the name of a blow to educate all beings. Buddhist friends said that virtual bodhicitta should have the name of not clinging to Buddhism, such cognition, and such belief, because the name and appearance of all Buddhism is like the pseudonym of all images, but as far as the self-confidence of the air is concerned, it is hardened and untrue, without attachment. If someone is full of immeasurable analysis, the 7 treasures of the world are not lost. If there are good men and women who send out the Bodhi Sutra, they accept, read, and give it to others to speak, and their blessing holy pen says that he speaks to others without marrying the appearance, like moving. Why? Everything is illegal, like a dream canon.
It's as easy as lightning, and it's hard to observe the Buddha as it is. When the Buddha is mature, it's better for a friendly man or a good woman to have supreme bodhicitta, if the world is filled with absorbing treasures.
Few people believe in receiving and reading praises in the whole classic, but they only believe in receiving and reading 4 sentences, which enables themselves and others to understand Buddha nature. Then, the dead people, because of this, get better merits than those mentioned earlier, who fill the infinite world and absorb it without losing it. Why do they not only can't be attached to the object, but also remain motionless when speaking to others? Because all dharmas achieved by doing something in the world are impermanent in life, illusory like dreams, like bubbles and shadows, without autonomy, and like morning dew and electricity, and cannot last long. You should have this experience. The Buddha's repeated explanation of Prajna's Dharma wisdom has been reduced, and the elders continue to realize Bodhi. After listening to Prajna Dharma taught by Buddha, monks, women, nuns, good men and women at all times, everyone's heart was filled with Dharma joy, firmly believed in wonderful Dharma taught by Buddha, and practiced it according to the wonderful Dharma.
Zhang Toluo vinyl has Zhang Toluo, Risha Qian Yang, rice meat self-living through 4 middle schools, and Shida Finger has 3,000 Buddha names with him to return home for offerings. On that day, the meat is soft, and there are 8 heads of extremely long shapes, fried babri with angry eyes, and everyone who sees it is afraid. After the disaster, there is a business egg born as an immortal. The gold coins are unknown, and people like to see it. One day, I passed a temple, and saw a piece of paper with the names of 3,000 Buddhas written on it, so I took the piece of paper home to worship it. On that day, his wife gave birth to a ball of meat and eggs, and 8 children appeared when they opened it. They grew up very ugly. Yang Mei grinned angrily, and broke people's arms with a punch. Everyone was afraid of causing disaster to the local area. Many years later, his wife gave birth to another ball of meat. Because of the disaster experience many years ago, I wanted to throw away this flesh egg, but there was a voice in the void reprimanding him that he couldn't easily destroy his life. You should protect the flesh and break automatically, except for 4 girls who looked dignified and loved by everyone. Although they were not educated, they naturally crossed the 10 Commandments. They liked to read and chant the Diamond Sutra. Zhang Tou's naked addiction is followed by the preface of the sutra. If someone holds the Diamond Sutra, the philosophy will first be empty to the mind. Then the director of the names of the 8 Vajras and the 4 Bodhisattvas should support the so-called 8 Vajras, which means that all sentient beings can remove the heat, poison, disease, and suffering of all sentient beings.